Married from, since 84 or something like that. So I didn't.
Damn, you ain't get a chance to enjoy the single life of your stand-up.
I did. I broke up my marriage, though. And I regret it.
A lot of these men, the relationship can be over because it's the man's fault, because it's the woman's fault, and he doesn't care because all he feels is freedom. What's up, guys? It's your girl Rivah, and I'm back again with another video. So this man on the screen clearly does not need any introduction. Okay, we are all aware that this is the beloved Damon Wayans. He actually was most recently on Club Shay Shay, in which he was asked a lot of various questions. But most importantly, I wanted to focus on this portion of the interview.
Married from, since 84 or something like that. So I didn't.
Damn, you ain't get a chance to enjoy the single life of your stand-up.
I did. I broke up my marriage. Don't worry, I broke up my marriage.
Now, this clip has been going extremely viral. It was Shannon Sharp asking Damon Wayans, like, hey, he was talking about his life and, marriage and stuff like that. And he's like, at the height of your career, you were married. And so you weren't out there, you weren't in the streets, you didn't get a lot of experience out there while you were, a high value man with the opportunity to exercise options. And Damon is like, oh, don't worry about that. I broke up my marriage. And then he further goes into detail and says a lot of things that were very interesting to me.
And I regret it.
Really?
Yeah, because, when in show business, you think that this chemistry you got with this person, this actress, is like special and pure. And then what you don't realize is she gonna go do that on the next role with somebody else.
Now, this portion is what got me, right? And I know a lot of people were focused on the forefront of him saying, that he regrets his marriage or whatever the case is. But you see, this level of accountability is the reason in which men and women maneuver very differently within relationships. Because you know why? When women are the ones who break up their marriage, thinking that the grass is greener, thinking that they're going to have better options, going out there and basically having the same exact situation happen where, maybe the person that they were entertaining while they were married, they thought it was going to create this, amazing situation for them, and it didn't happen. And, they end up, breaking up their marriage and regretting it. They never lead with accountability. That never happens. They never have, you will, it's very rare. And I've highlighted a couple of people on my platform who have said it, but it's very rare that women will go out there and then realize, oh, wait a minute, I made a mistake, and hone in on, all of the onus being on them. A lot of women won't do it. Right? And so there was a lot of women in a lot of these comment sections like, oh, him being accountable is amazing. And, we need more men like this. But in my personal, taking a step back was like, well, what would a world be if women were the ones taking that accountability? Because a lot of people believe that just because the women are filing for divorce, that they are not the cause for the demise of their relationship. And that is actually not true. The fact that he's like, you know what? It was my fault. I regret it. I thought that this person was, the cream of the crop. I thought that the interest that this person had in me was going to be whatever the situation was. And unfortunately, that's not how the cookie crumbled.
And you be like, but I left my wife for you. You know what? Tell her the stuff you told my character. She'll take you back. You'd be like,
damn.
What? Yeah.
What do you learn about marriage? What do you learn about yourself during marriage?
It's cheaper to keep her.
Obviously, we know that Damon Wayans is a comedian, so a lot of these serious conversations ended up turning into a joke, just like this one. And I wanted to pinpoint something. You see, when a man can be out of a relationship with a woman, okay, as much as, like I said, a lot of these women are caught up in him being accountable, and you see, this is what these men need to take notes, because these men need to be accountable for their actions. As much as these women are caught up in the act of, the onus being on a man, do you understand the kind of woman you have to be for a man to no longer be in a relationship with you? That ship has sailed. The two of you are over, and him to look back at you and say, you know what? I regret that decision. That means that you have to be a certain type of woman. A lot of these men, the relationship can be over because it's the man's fault, because it's the woman's fault, and he doesn't care because all he feels is freedom. Okay? He is not feeling any sense of regret, any sense of remorse, any feeling towards a lot of these women, because a lot of times these women make being in the relationship with them so heavy, right? So dramatic, so, filled with toxicity, drama, disrespect on a constant basis, that when these men step out of these relationships, regardless of it's his fault, her fault, anybody's fault in between, they do not feel that sense of regret. They don't feel it. So as much as, like I said, the women are focused on, him regretting it, they need to be focused on the type of woman that is. Because a lot of men that y'all done broke up with, you want them to take accountability for what? Okay? They are happy that they have pounced into freedom and away from you.
I think marriage is a beautiful arrangement. I was just too young and dumb to know that back then.
Are you on good terms?
Yeah.
You can always tell when somebody's speaking from a mature point of view because there's no bitterness. Right? There's no bitterness. There's no disdain. There's no, pent up feelings or hard feelings. Although he did, talk about the fact that they obviously had to work through things. But, he doesn't have any disdain for marriage or the constitution of marriage or what marriage represents or the balance of it. But he, again, had no problem being accountable for the fact that, like, you know what? I was too young. Shouldn't have done it. Made a mistake. Didn't understand what I was doing, walked into that situation, is what it is, right? But he's owning, like, I'm the one who messed this up. He's owning that. And while women look at that with admiration, a lot of women, while they're saying like, oh, men need to learn from this, don't realize that they themselves need to learn from this situation. They themselves need to learn, you know what? Not because the relationship is over, I need to now villainize this person and make it seem like he's the worst person that has ever existed, or he's the worst guy in the world. The relationship didn't work. It is what it is. Move forward. You don't have to be bitter. You don't have to be vindictive. You don't have to walk around trying to slander that person's name, because, so many times women get out of relationships and according to them, they were the victim. The person was so horrible and terrible. And in every relationship they've ever been in, they've been the best thing since sliced bread, and they've never done anything wrong. That's not reality. That's not the truth, right? We know that it was you. Maybe you had a problem with, one person who was the problem, and then you made every other person that you got into a relationship with suffer for your lack of trust or whatever it was from the first person that you encountered a relationship with. A lot of times the problem was you. Okay? So while you over here pointing the finger at everybody else and, being in a space that you were unwilling to change and grow or evolve through these situations, you're blaming everyone else. Again, I have to say it again. Why y'all over here telling the men that they need to be taking note? A lot of women need to take note from this situation as well. Because again, a lot of these women are filing thinking that the grass is greener. And I got to be honest with you. Damon Wayans, I don't even know how old Damon Wayans is, but I can guarantee he can go get in a relationship and snap his fingers and be married if he wants to. For a lot of times, with the woman, when a woman gets older and a woman's in a different space, it doesn't work the same way.
Here's what's crazy is, for the longest, like she and I would, we never said it to each other, but we just made up our minds that we can't let the grandkids feel our resentment. And there was resentment,
I loved when he said this. I absolutely loved when he said this. And again, this is a platform in which I hold women accountable. Okay, that is what my conversation is based in, holding women accountable so that women can have better results, so that women can get better relationships, so that women can fix the relationships that they're in before they end up single, bitter, miserable, and again, playing the blame game. What he said about, the resentment and how, the two of them harbored resentment against one another. A lot of people don't realize that, especially when you are in these spaces and you are harboring resentment against your ex for whatever reason. your lack of understanding, your lack of wanting to understand the other person's point of view, which in a lot of women have that issue. Hence why a lot of women end up single, is because of the fact that they are unable to understand their counterpart's point of view in the first place. But when you are harboring that unwillingness to have certain conversations, or that resentment, that bitterness within yourself, you are only stagnating your own growth. You're only halting your own growth. You might think it's affecting everybody else. It's only affecting you, no one else. And especially in his situation where there's not only kids involved, but there's grandchildren involved, it's like, this doesn't make any sense. For what? And I love the part where he actually is going to say that the reason why is because he didn't want to rehash things.
She'd come in and sit over there, and I'd sit over there. And then probably about 7 years ago, I was over at Junior's house, family gathering, because kids would invite her to barbecues at my house, and it's fine, And what it was is the fear of having to relitigate what happened.
Can we be honest that a lot of times when these women file for divorce and they regret it, or they realize that they didn't actually think things through, or, the relationship is over and they're out there in the streets and things are not going the way in which they thought it was going to go, a lot of that is because of their, pent up emotions to the situation. And again, their unwillingness to be honest with themselves. Right? Like this whole not wanting to rehash or bring up these old things is not even something that you necessarily even have to have a conversation about. But a lot of these women they'd rather fill their mind with the delusions and lie to themselves about how they truly feel about the situation because, everybody sold them the dream that the grass is greener. Everybody sold them the dream that they're going to be happier if they divorce and break up their families. Everybody sold them the dream that, out here not having no man living with you and stressing you out is, where you need to be at in life. And they're actually not happy with that. Right. And so these unresolved feelings or emotions of not wanting to rehash the fact that, you made the wrong decision. And so that's why we see a lot of these women join the campaigns on TikTok and social media and all these places, basically telling other women like, oh, you don't need to be with nobody. And, you're going to be happier if you're by yourself and you don't need nobody's son stressing you out. And I'm so happy to live the single life. It's because they are coping. Not realizing that all they had to do was be honest with themselves, which is something that a lot of women suffer with, is being honest with themselves, even when it's going to expose the fact that you are wrong about a situation.
I know I messed up. I messed up, so I don't want to deal. That's why I pay you alimony, so I don't have to deal with it, right? 7 years ago, we were over at Junior's house, and we're sitting outside, and she's over there somewhere, and we're laughing. That's what we do, is laugh and joke, and we start reminiscing. And then she came and sat right next to me.
What a lot of women don't realize is that the way that you are able to be amicable, especially when you're going through a divorce with your children's father, right? Or, separation, whatever, is that how you handle the way that you maneuvered from your ex, and even women who don't have children, how you handle the way that you are able to maneuver from your ex is going to determine the types of relationships that you are able to get into. And a lot of women have not figured out that math. Okay, they have not figured out the calculations of the two, because the two of them definitely coexist. Because if you are able to understand the other's perspective, if you are able to not harbor resentment, if you are able to grow from the situation and look at self. A lot of women break up out of relationships and all they do is point the finger at the other person. But if you are able to look at yourself and say, okay, what did I do in that situation that I don't want to do moving forward? What can I take accountability for the demise of that relationship? Focus on you. How you can grow, how you can evolve, how you can change. Because I can guarantee, okay, that if you look into some things, you definitely had a part to play in that situation. You did. It takes two to tango. Okay? You were not just sitting there all perfect and refined and did nothing wrong and didn't nag him and didn't annoy him, didn't disrespect him, and you were just the best, the prize in the relationship, and that man just decided that it was over. That's not what happened. Okay? He didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to ruin everything. That's not what happened. I can guarantee that there are some parts to play, and again, some pieces that you added to the demise of the relationship. And again, a lot of women focus on the other party, not realizing that when you focus on yourself and you truly grow, truly evolve, truly fix, heal, change, rearrange whatever wrongs you have in you, you are also going to be able to then garner positive results after. But a lot of these women walk around with bitterness, resentment, hurt, pain, disdain, unsaid words, and regret. And so they're still living like they're in a relationship with the man because they never resolved those things. They can move on. They could be with somebody new. They could be in a new relationship, whatever it is, but they are harboring all of these old feelings. And so it's keeping them in that same relationship mentally and emotionally. So how can you move forward? You go get in a relationship, with a new man, you start dating a new man and you start talking to him and stuff, and you be like, well, yeah, I'm a good woman and I'm this and I bring that to the table. The man goes to take a phone call outside. You over here about to bite his head off because of what your ex did. You're in a new relationship. Something happening between the two of y'all in the house, and you talking about, oh, well, I don't like that because my ex used to do. Why are you still there? You need to deal with them unresolved things and then move forward. Because if not, you're going to end up dating the same man who just looks different. Because the only person that's going to be able to give you the time of day is the person who has the same toxic traits that you were unable to heal from, grow from, learn from. I loved this conversation. I actually loved the entire interview. There was a lot of gems that he dropped in the entire interview. Very funny and stuff like that. But in between the nonsensical things that they were just talking and laughing about, there was a lot of important things that he said, and I loved that. So I'd like to know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this entire situation. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one. Love you.